embed intro. Alrighty. We'd like to welcome everybody again for another episode of the Power of Ownership Podcast. I'm Brandon B. Dixon. I got my co-hosts here, Dave Youngs and Brandon Dunbar. We call him Dunbar, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'll start with the introductions here, and then we'll go in a clockwise manner here. So, all right, so my name is Brandon B. Dixon, NMLS 1541210. It's at Being That Alone, also on all social media. Also go to my YouTube, like, subscribe. Also, if you actually give us a question during the broadcast, we'll read it out loud, and we'll answer any of your questions or comments here. Go to my website, www.applywithb, if you want to book me for a consultation or you want to talk about a mortgage and apply. So call me 24/7, 832-775-8357. Again, I am all about late night conversations. I'll talk as long as it's about business. Go to my website, www.brandonbdixon. I am a realtor with Action Realty as well. So if you want to lease, list, that's the site to hit me as well. Last but not least, this is launching soon. We love Frenchies.com. I have just got 2 letters dropped down, so I will be posting them here soon online. Actually, I'm probably going to do that later on tonight, so be on the lookout for that. David, I got you queued up as well.
Yeah, welcome everyone. We appreciate it. So if you want to go to my website, it's infinitehometeam.com. A lot of helpful resources on there and a way that you can contact me as well. Go to the next one if you would for me. At David R. Youngs is my handle with most of my social media platforms. You can also find it under at Infinite Home Team as some of the other handles as well. My name is David Youngs, mortgage advisor since 2005. My NMLS 328679, OG license. Keep going, one more. And for all of the information you ever need to know about me, just go to that one site, dot.cards/David Youngs, and you can download all of that right into your phone and have access to all of my profiles and everything you need in one place.
Gotcha. Dunbar, I got you queued up as well.
All right. Good evening. Brandon Dunbar here, Houston's own realtor. You can Google me and see all my reviews and get all my contact information by just Googling my name. I also have a website if you would like to get a consultation. It's dunbardidit.com. Feel free to look through there and let's talk. One more.
I think that's it for you. I got like 2 for you. That's all I got for you. 2 banners. So we're gonna get it started. We got about 5, 6, or 7 clips, right?
You got a few this time, actually.
Yeah, so
some good ones too.
We're gonna go ahead without further ado and get started. And a lot of exciting stuff has happened in the last couple of weeks. So let's talk about it. Let's go ahead and get
for anyone maybe new to the show, just so you know what we're doing here. We watch and we keep an eye on the industry and trends and things that are happening out there, and then we talk about the clips together as a group of professionals. And we want your input as well. We want your comments. What do you think about this too? What have you to say on this topic? And then we can engage with everyone here watching live or after the fact. So, but take it away, Mr. Dixon.
Yeah, hold on for a second while I'm doing this banner right fast. That's one thing I did forget to do the banner. But as soon as I finish this, we can go ahead and roll a clip. All right, got it going. All right, so let's go ahead with the first clip here. Bam.
Directs Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac to buy $200 billion worth of mortgage bonds. And last time that happened was 2020 up to 2022. And guess what happened? Mortgage rates dropped. So when the government buys mortgage bonds, demand goes up, yields go down. Because if everyone wants the bonds, they don't have to pay a high return. That means mortgage rates would drop like it did between 2020 up to 2022. If that actually happens with cutting of interest rates, with inflation coming down, it's going to look sexy in 2026 for mortgage rates, if it actually does happen. But if it doesn't, I still expect mortgage rates to be a little bit better after second quarter 2026. But if it does happen, 2026 mortgage rates are going to look sexy. So cross your fingers to stay up to date on mortgage news. Follow my page. And also do me a huge favor, share this video.
All right. Actually, it was good that I didn't have the sound on for the first the screaming part. So we got the meat of it just in time. So it actually wound up pretty good.
Dunbar, what's your thought first? Because you're in the real estate space primarily. I'd be interested to get your thoughts on it before any of us in the mortgage space too.
Oh yeah, sure. So I guess my first question would be, if I'm not mistaken, the mortgage rates have dropped slightly since December. Is that correct?
They have.
Yeah. Well, like if the rates are anything like 2020, it's gonna be a very sexy year. It's gonna be. I know we mentioned steadiness a couple of weeks ago, but if it drops to COVID interest rates, then it's gonna bloom, which is gonna be good for me, of course, in my listings. But we'll see if it actually happens, and we'll see how low it actually goes. But like I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, people are used to these rates now, so it can only get better from here if they do drop even slightly.
Gotcha. David, I'm queuing up the next clip, so you want to go ahead while I'm doing this?
I could probably go for 20 minutes on this one. This first video. this is a big one. So one thing that I think is interesting is the government's done this before. Back in the COVID period, right as COVID was kind of hitting, all of a sudden the government started what's called quantitative easing, or QE. People might have heard that phrase, quantitative easing, where all of a sudden the government decided to come in and start buying billions of dollars, injecting money into the economy to buy up these bonds. And they artificially dropped rates down into the threes and for some even the twos, which created an inflation crisis. And then runaway inflation all of a sudden after this, when there's quantitative tightening that pulled all this back, they stopped buying. All of a sudden, rates went from, they were going down. And then we saw what happened right after that ended, and it went up, all the way to over 8% on average. And then the whole real estate industry stopped. Because it's kind of like, oh no, what did we do? Like we gotta slow this down. So they started doing, they kept cutting the Fed funds rate down. Well, then all of a sudden they started raising it up. And they did it actually in one, I forget the exact stat off the top of my head, but it was the fastest, most amount of Fed fund increases that we've ever seen in history in just a few months. And that's what created the 3% to 8% rates all of a sudden. I think that was 2022 off the top of my head for the year. The years kind of run together now at this point in my head. But when that happened, all of a sudden, everybody just put the brakes on. They're like, I'm not going to sell. I'm not going to buy. I'm not going to refi. I'm not going to do anything because rates just went up. So one thing that I'm a little concerned about is if they start doing this again, doing it in a way that is more tapered, a slower process, not just we're going to come in and try to bail out the banks and buy all these things right away and do this immediately. I want to make sure that we're in a position, if possible, where we see rates slowly keep trending down so it becomes more affordable for families, but it doesn't do this drastic drop. Because when you have that too fast, it creates other problems like we saw. So that's my thought, is just mainly it's cool to see it from, selfishly from the mortgage and real estate side of things. I would love to see rates come back down. But I think for an economy, for the families across the nation, doing it too fast could create bigger problems for more people. So that's my thought on it. I think it's a good thing if they do it. I would love to see it happen. Curious on everybody else's thoughts too, in the comments as well, if you want to throw something in there, because this is a big deal if they start doing this again. It's been a long time since they've been doing this.
Right. So don't forget, we'll read the comments, like the video as well, and then share the video. We definitely appreciate it. I'll go ahead and piggyback what you're saying. I think what happens is I'm going to speak metaphorically, then I'll speak actual first. If you put too much chum in the water, the sharks are going to come out and have a feeding frenzy. Don't forget that, especially in our market, I'm not sure how your market is out there in Minnesota, David, but in Houston is an international city. So if you drop the rates, not only everybody's going to come out and try to hop in the market, but even everybody internationally is going to come out and try to buy in this. So we're going to see, yes, we will eat. I would agree with what's the mortgage. I think his real name is Men. I will agree with Men. Yes, it will be sexy. However, for that first-time home buyer, if you think this is your opportunity to buy, pick your poison. You're going to pay more for the house because everybody is going to be competing now for that same house. Everybody's going to be bidding. You're saving on a rate. However, you're paying more towards the principal. You're paying a larger price. Because it becomes a seller's market.
Exactly.
Where
supply and demand.
You got your picks and chooses of who you want to sell to. And appraisal contingency waivers, paying $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 over the sticker, over listing price. That's what's going to happen. You think you're going to get these foreclosure sales? Not in our market. The investors are going to come. The sharks are going to come out. So
and we saw it happen before. So it's not like this is a theory. Like that's exactly what happened the last time this happened.
Right. Sharks are going to come out.
We're giving up. It was a joke, right? It was like, you got to give a blood sample, give up your firstborn child, like everything to be able to win a bid on a house, because you'd have 50 people bidding on the same house because the rates were so low. Rates go up, everyone stopped buying.
Right. What I seen during I made a lot of money in 2021. Also, there was a lot of waste. I remember pre-qualing 1 month at its peak. I remember pre-qualing like 38 people that couldn't find a house. 38 people. I had 38 pre-quals out there floating. Could not find a house. So yeah, I was running credit. It's been long nights, long days. It was busy. However, a lot of people could not find a house till this day, and they get frustrated. What happens is they get frustrated, and then screw it, I'm a rent.
Yep. And some of those people, by the way, on my side, probably for you too, and maybe you, Dunbar, as well, they've never bought. They're still renting today, and they've lost 50, 100 grand in rent over the last several years of payments, and building no equity in properties because they're waiting for the rates to come down. Right,
and then you want to do it all over again.
Exactly.
Doesn't make sense. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results, right?
Exactly, which is what we're about to go into if they do this too fast, too quick. But I follow that guy too, by the way. I think it's a great video. That he has. If you're not following him, I don't know if you had his handle in here. You're going to post as well, or mention
I'm not. I don't give you. I'm not good. I know I need to start tagging them. If they give some reciprocity, I'll start mentioning them. But yeah, that's what's the Morgan's Men. I think he's out of California, cool guy. But yeah, in fact, I need to reach out to him. I'm gonna reach out to him. See if
he's got some good content. He's a good guy. Yeah, I like.
If you want to get out because I'm not licensed. I used to be licensed in California, so I'm not licensed in California anymore. So he's not direct competition. So I would actually, I'm gonna reach out to him, see if he wants to come on the show.
Hey, that'd be great if we could have him as a guest. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, so let's see. Because this is it's 7:00 out there, 7:30 out there. So let's see.
You want to call him right now? See if he answers. No. Tell him we're talking about him.
But final thoughts on this before we go to the next one. I think the gradual approach. I'm getting a lot of uptick right now of apps just because it's beginning of the year and rates are coming down a little bit. I think the sweet spot is the fives. You can't beat that. I mean, 5% is a sweet spot because it's not outrageous. It's not super duper low either, but that was an anomaly.
Mhm.
You know, that happens maybe once or twice a generation.
Yeah. And keep in mind too, the banks, I mean, I know banks, everyone says banks are greedy or whatever, but banks do have to make money in the process. The only reason that they were able to offer the rates they were is because of that artificial inflation from all of these buying up of mortgage-backed securities. So, and the bonds they were investing in. So the government coming in doing that artificially threw everything off, where the banks were still getting okay because of that extra funding. But without that funding, they kind of need the rates to be a certain level for it to, the whole thing to work. Otherwise, why are they in business? And then what happens is they start pulling back programs, pulling back guidelines, making it harder to qualify because they don't want to take the risk, which hurts more families in the process because of that. So again, it's this balancing act all the time that they're trying to find. And I don't know. I mean, there's pros and cons to each side and each point, but I like this person's comment here. Did you want to read that, Dixon?
Yeah. So HVAC Center 95 says, what are you guys' thoughts on Trump stopping institutions like BlackRock from buying homes? Anybody want to go there? And I'll go last on this one.
I'm trying to remember. First of all, did you have a video on this, Dixon, already queued up? I feel like
I don't have one.
Had one ready for tonight. I can't remember.
I don't think I have one on BlackRock. No.
Yeah. Well, for one thing that I'll comment on is, it was estimated years back that by the end of 2030, which is only 4 years away, by 2030, Wall Street will own 40% of the homes on the market. And the funny thing is that stat hasn't really changed. They're quickly buying them up, and they are on pace to hit that. So absolutely, your point is valid here, HVAC Center 95, that is an extremely important thing to be concerned about. Is you may not, when you go in to look at properties, more than 1 in 3 may be already purchased or have bought up before you even saw it because of these investors coming into the market more and more and more, especially these big institutions like BlackRock or similar type companies that are buying up these properties. So it's going to create a bigger inventory crisis because builders cannot keep up with what we need for inventory for families to buy homes. So if builders can't keep up and the population's slowly increasing while homes aren't there, and then while everybody's sitting on the sidelines waiting to buy until rates hopefully come up, fingers crossed they come down, and then BlackRock comes in and buys up all the properties, well, everybody's kind of out of luck there. Like, now what? So very valid point.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's good for the families, the first time home buyers, even the second time home buyers. It's a great it's a soft landing pad for these guys. First time home buyers, if you don't have to be in competition with a cash buyer, essentially.
Right. I have a little bit more controversial take on it. Here comes my opinions. I think I didn't like this move by Trump. I think it's a free enterprise system. If they have the cash to do it, let them do it. I think if you're a first-time home buyer, I think that's a signal for us to step up and get more homes. The smaller people to get more homes. If they have the capital to buy it. I get the monopoly laws and stuff like that. However, they're a long way from a monopoly. So I think the government, I definitely believe in smaller government. Government should stay out of the market. Let the market do what the market does. It's up to the smaller individual to, beat them to the punch. You got more. Why should we incentivize? If you know it's the right thing, you should want to buy homes. Especially if you're in that mid-tier to lower class. This is going to be the biggest investment that you're ever going to have. So if you're not incentivized by you're not incentivized by that, then if you're renting, like, why should we? why should the government step in and stop them from facilitating what you want? All right, so the government gonna stop in, and all right, not, you guys can't have chicken sandwiches after 7, man. This is bad for you. You know,
Yeah.
we got too many chicken sandwiches out here. So
funny enough, I think you and I are saying the same thing, Dixon. Like
right.
I'm in agreement. Like if the government just stays out of it, that's the problem. Is they created that artificial situation, and then they're like, oh no, what do we do? Well, we got to stop injecting money, and then the market skyrocketed up. Like if they just stayed out of it the whole time, everything would probably have been fine for the most part with families. Like the rates would have been stable, not as low as they got, but you know, so I agree with that. Your comment, HVAC, though, about, you know, most Americans can't afford a home. Absolutely true. Right. Part of the problem, though, I'm going to argue, is not that they can't afford a home. It's, and I'm not calling you out here, by the way, when commenting, I'm saying just in general, there's a massive lack of education in the market. Right. People, and thankfully, people watching stuff like this, trying to gain that education, that information, and learn about it is very helpful. But there's such a lack of education out there. Families may not realize that it's more affordable than most think. The problem is they're reading stuff online or talking to well-intentioned friends and family, or even other professionals that aren't true mortgage professionals, mortgage advisors, and or working with someone even in a retail company that's just like, oh, you want to buy a house? Here's an application. Let's pull your credit and throw it in and hope it works. There's not really any guidance there on how could we make this more affordable? What are some strategies and how we can make an offer on the property? How we could restructure the financing terms, doing a temporary or a permanent buy down, or working with the listing agent on the seller contributions, and so many different ways to slice this thing without going into detail on all these topics. So I think it's more affordable than most people think. Also, keep in mind, interest rates were over 8% for a while. The average, I just pulled it up here quick, the average today interest rate lock for a top tier credit scenario is right around 6% for a conventional loan. Correct. That's pretty affordable. That's not bad.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. I think I disagree with that. HVAC Center 95. Most Americans can afford a home. They're paying rent right now. You know, and the rent is synonymous with the mortgage most of the time. You know, especially in our market in Houston. You know, Dunbar could attest to this right now. Right. You're not going to be able to get anything in a decent neighborhood for less than $1,850. You know, for a 3-bedroom house, or you know, even an apartment's going to run you $1,700. There's your mortgage. There's your mortgage, right there. You get income tax. There's down payment assistance. There's all these grants and programs. The city of Houston offers a program. This person offers a program. You can, but you won't. Something else in your life became more important than making a great financial decision. That's the problem.
Or I'm going to argue they haven't met the right professional yet that's given them the advice. They don't know don't know what to do, even though it's there.
Well, the help is there. I think with a computer that you have at all times in your pocket, you can seek the help that you want if it's important to you. A lot of times that big screen, that vacation, that the ease of stress or whatever's blocking it is more important than taking that delayed gratification and getting your house. So I disagree with that. Most can't afford a home. Most can. Some can't, but most can. And when we talk about most, we're talking about 51% or more of Americans can afford a home.
Can I also point out, even if you can't today, even if you can't, it doesn't mean you can't forever. It means just not today. The key is you got to work with a professional that's going to give you a plan of action and walk you through step 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's what you do to reach your goals and get to that point. You can do it. Sometimes it might take a few months. It might even take a few years for some families, but it's possible. And I have, doing this for 20 years, I have many, many case studies of clients that have done this where we have gone through years of planning together in consultations and free advice, and they're in a home today because of what they implemented back then that no one else had ever taken the time to do, which is sad. It really is sad.
Right. I mean, the
agree with
point
you
is
on
that if you're willing to actually take the steps and do it, it can be accomplished. Most people don't own a home because they don't want to own a home, and we do have some contradictory views coming up on some of these videos we got coming up. So we're gonna get into this a little bit deeper here. But let's get into this one next. I don't want. We can talk about this on because don't forget we're still on the first one.
I know you picked a really good starter video. As soon as you played that, I'm like,
Right.
we're gonna be here all night, man.
Right. So let's go into this next one because, like I said, I don't want to be stuck on the first one all day. So let's go into the next one here. All right. Can y'all see the screen?
Yes, sir.
All right. Cool. Let's go ahead and get the banner going.
If you put tenants in houses, okay? I put tenant buyers in houses, not tenants. We put them in there with no less than a 5% non-refundable deposit. They are responsible for all the repairs after the first 30 days. And now I got people that have a dog in the hunt and they take care of the house. And, you know, most of them don't actually buy. I give them a couple of years. I'll give them as long as they want, to tell you the truth. But if they got to go get their credit cleaned up or whatever, stopping them from getting a loan while they're living in the house and acting like they own it, because they do have an option to buy it. Good news or bad news is most of them won't buy. Now, if you're like me, and you're doing it for the long term and you want to get filthy, stinking rich owning houses that we bought using no credit and little or no money, then you can buy as many of these as you like, because I do not guarantee debt. I don't want you to do it either. So anyway, I don't mind tenant buyers. I've done all I'm going to do with straight tenants because they don't have a dog in the hunt, and it's two totally breeds of human beings, if you ask me. Besides, I like to see people get into a house that can't get in there any other way because they don't qualify for a loan and they know it. I'll give them plenty of time to qualify for the loan while they're paying me rent. And I've had some tenants been in houses 10 years and never bought and paid off my houses while they were in them. And that's the kind of business you'd want to build if you're going to do a rental business. I won't apply to apartments, but it definitely applies to single family houses. And then think about this, all the benefits. Big old deposit coming in. There's a building equity in the property. Your debt is paying down. Your price of the house is going up. You get tax deductions because you own the house. Next thing you know, you got a golden goose. And when I show you how you can do that and not pay income taxes while you're doing it, that ought to light you up.
Why won't you ever rent a house again?
Because I've been doing this too long and I know what happens to you if you put tenants in houses. Okay. I put tenant buyers in houses.
All right. So there's a couple of different ways to talk about this here. You know, y'all want to go ahead in first and I'll take last, or y'all want me to go in first?
I think you should start this one. You were last one.
Cool. Let's talk about it from the tenant standpoint. The reason why I put this clip in here is because you see the mentality as far as on the landlord's mentality. You're paying off his mortgage. He's getting all the benefits. You're taking care of, you know, even if you're a tenant buyer, you're taking care of the house. He doesn't have to do anything. All you're doing is paying down his debt. Then he said, most of them rent for years and never get their situation straight to actually buy. And it's almost like Planet Fitness. You know, most people, their business model is they got a membership, but most people never go, you know? So, and that's the business model, you know, they're paying the $27 or $10 or $15 or so, you know, they before you know it, they've been having a membership for a couple of years and they've only been twice, you know? So that's the business model. It's like you've been renting all these years, you have no equity, you have nothing to show for it. You do have a roof over your head. However, that money is not working for you. It's actually going out the door. So I wanted to show tenants on the other side how the other side thinks. Now let's talk about it from the landlord side. Landlord side, I definitely agree with them. That's my long-term strategy as far as an investor as well, to get tenant buyers. And here in the Houston market, we definitely have a lot of them because, you know, I hate to say it, was a sanctuary city at one point where we got, at one point it was 7 million illegals, probably is double that now. So a lot of people that don't have Social Security numbers that can't get loans, but they're working and they have, you know, all the driver's licenses and, you know, they want homes as well. So you got the large down payment, the 20% down, they're making money and you're willing to sign this contract. Sure, go ahead. And I get all the benefits you're paying, you know, that, and that's a lot of, you know, my friends and a lot of my colleagues, that's what they do. They have, you know, 9 or 10 of those. Don't forget in Texas, well, I think this is federal wide. You could do 9 of these a year without needing to declare yourself a lending institution. You become the bank. So I don't know if you're aware of that. You can do 9 of those a year, like where you're owner financing. So that's what you want to do as far as just a renter in there, because think about it. A lot of people, how extensive are those rental applications now? You got to have perfect credit, perfect this, perfect that. With a buyer telling, hey, you got the money? Okay, you sign this contract and I'm putting you in 20% down. Go ahead, tear it up. I got my 20% down. So and Texas laws are not like we're not lenient towards squatters and all that. So that's my strategy. I definitely agree with them on that. Tenant buyers as opposed to just tenant. And I don't want to preach all night, so I'll go ahead I'll yield the floor on that. So
I'll go ahead and take. Yeah, right. Man, it's I wish they had more programs too that has a rent to own from a lower scale basis. It was coming back in the 90s to have like a rent to own situation, but now it's very difficult, and from what I'm seeing, to actually get somebody that's willing to let you rent until you can qualify or you meet a certain threshold to buy it. That's what I will say. And yeah, renting is 100% interest. You can't, you're never going to build anything up to while you're renting that house. It's that's not how that works. And to kind of piggyback on your point, it's extremely hard to get a rental home in a good location in our market. I mean, I was saying people, they want $750, they want 4 times the rent. I mean, it's easier to buy than it is to rent in the popular sub markets here.
Mm-hmm. So I'll go next. So one thing that's interesting to me is I don't think a lot of families that are in these situations. Now, we're not talking about renters in apartments, like an apartment building. Of course, we're talking about a home, an actual single family property or a multi-family property. You're renting this from an investor. So when you're in this circumstance, I don't think a lot of people realize, go talk to the landlord, the person that owns the property. Go talk to them and say, hey, we would love to buy this property. Would you work with us and work something out for a rent to own, or also what's called sometimes, depending on the circumstances, going into another topic, but sometimes kind of similar, is a contract for deed. So, but ask if you can do a rent to own, where basically so say your monthly payment is $1,500 a month. That's your rent. And you just say, hey, landlord, what if we did $1,750 a month? And then the landlord banks that $250 over time and just banks it for you towards your down payment. And in a year or two, they allow you then to buy the home with essentially owner financing to let you buy it from them. There's your down payment saved. They work out the terms. They can still make a profit. They now have the ability, by the way, here's the benefit of the landlord, is they've got you kind of on the hook, if you want to think of it that way, of they got your money. So they want to be able to help you if they can in most cases, but they got the money. They can then turn around, take that money though, once you buy the home, free them up from that property. No more financing. Nothing's tied to it. That's your house. You buy it from the landlord. They now have the money to go buy another one. So they're not stuck with the one. The goal of real estate investing is to buy and keep going, not buy and hold one and then collect a bunch of rent from one person. Or one family. That's not the focus of a real estate investor. It's buy a property and make money so that you can use the money to go buy more properties. So they're usually incentivized. They want to work with buyers or renters to try to get them out of this deal as fast as they can. So this might not be every investor strategy. Some are in the market to flip properties. Some of them may not have an appetite for this, but my point with this is just ask the landlord, are you willing to work with us? Are you willing to do a rent to own? And if you are, great. Start that process. What does that look like? Sign a contract, get this thing in writing, ideally consult an attorney. Make sure you have this in writing, or a real estate professional that can draft this on a legal document, put this all together. But if you do it right, you might be able to buy the home you're already in. And now you get the benefit of home ownership, of building equity, and the interest reduction or deduction on your taxes, and the tax deduction on the property taxes, and all the other things that come with it. You get the benefit of it instead of the landlord. So I think there's a lot of lack of education on that point. Maybe, I don't know.
If his owner finances, he technically still owns the home, so he's still going to get the actual tax benefits, and but you don't get that until you refinance. You get out of it, but as how it works in Texas.
Thank you for clarifying that for me, Dixon. Yes.
Yeah, Texas is a homestead state, so you enter in a contract. However, he's still legally the owner of the actual property until you actually either refinance or pay off.
Renting to owner financed, and then once that's done, then step 3 is refinance into your own name. Now the landlord can walk away 100%. So this is a kind of a 3-step process, essentially, if you want to look at it that way. Thank you for clarifying that. I missed that clarification.
Also, what you want to do as well, we have programs like that at Nexa. There's Divvy and there's Home.
You're talking about the buy before you sell, or are you talking about
there's Divvy has a rent to own program. It's in if you look at our what you call them, there's
the lender list. Yeah,
the lender list. We have there's a rent to own program. Where
for those watching, by the way, so Nexa Lending, which is the company that I work with, we're the largest brokerage in the history of the United States with over 285. As of today, we're at 287 lenders just in residential lending alone to shop with. Mm-hmm. It's hard. Like, I pride myself on knowing what's there, but man, it's hard to keep track of how many amazing programs we have. Right. Thankfully, we can filter that all down to, here's my exact scenario. We can filter that down to, okay, we want these 5 lenders. Like, those are the 5 we're going to look at. So for anybody watching, just making sure to make that point. If you have questions, there truly is nobody in the entire industry that has access to more stuff than myself, and also Mr. Dixon here, who's also with us as well.
Right. So just to explain the program for those who's listening. So yeah, hit me up, applywithme.com, shameless plug. But just to give you a quick gist of it, yes, you can rent to own. Part of your rent goes towards the down payment. You have up to 2 years to refi out, and that's where I can help you as that. I can help you on both ends because I'm a realtor as well. So Divvy has a list of homes that you could choose from. I think Home Partners, you could choose any of the homes that you qualify for, and then they'll buy the house. What happens is their investors will buy the house. They will let you rent it from them. Then they will actually sell it to you of course, at a markup. So that's how it works. And then I think to get in, Divvy is $560. I believe the other one is $580, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that.
For a minimum credit score, you're saying?
For minimum credit scores to get in, minimum mid score. So give me, contact me for all the details. But there are rent to own programs out there. There's 2 that we deal with at Nexa. So
absolutely.
Let's go ahead to the next one real quick. Now we're starting to move a little bit. So I'll put a couple in here that's going to be controversial, like that's totally opposite. So just to get the conversation started.
This was an interesting one. Yeah.
Yeah, this is interesting.
Check it. Here's how I made $1 million in real estate without owning real estate. First, it's about control, not ownership. Ownership opens you up to liabilities, being sued. All it does is put a massive target on your back. I mean, why do you think billionaires operate out of trust, privacy, asset protection, taxes, or lack thereof? Home ownership is a scam if you're living in that asset, which is now a liability. Plus, if you don't pay your mortgage or your property taxes, guess what? They take it. So was it really yours to begin with if they could just take it? So I reverse engineered this whole system, took control of multi-million-dollar homes, lived in them, and got paid to live in them. So at this time, it wasn't just about the market, it's about timing. As my boutique luxury business was on the rise, Airbnb was just starting to rise as well. And I was living in 10, 20, $30 million homes at a time, and I had a multitude of them. And what I did was I rented business to business. The Airbnb stuff was okay, but the business to business is where the gold is at. I worked with Netflix, ABC, NBC, you name it. Even with the Hollywood sign in my backyard, I didn't want to own this home. I just wanted to control it, control the price, control the calendar, control everything. So I had the same rights as an owner, just controlling it, but none of the liability. If something breaks down, it's not on me. I don't have to worry about the plumbing or cutting the grass. All that's on the owner. And what I would do if somebody wanted to completely rent out the house for a week, a month, 2 months, I would just move to another house that I had. So I took this business from 0 to 7 figures. So the question is, if you could live in a multi-million-dollar home, do you care to own it if you're making money and have control over it? We've been lied to for so long about real estate ownership because you're going to have a 30-year loan to maybe get 100 to 120 grand in equity. I can literally do that sniping meme coins at 4 a.m. with some coffee. So what are we talking about? This is why tokenization, fractionalized investments in real estate is the future of ownership. You will be able to own that home or that building in a fractionalized manner, receive an ROI without any liability. Make sure you get into my Break the Matrix community because my real estate hacks course is in there. And even one of my students just this last weekend made 2 grand from this method. Own nothing, control everything.
I know I went last. I don't know if I can hold my tongue all the way to the end on this one. You know,
if you want to go first, please
Yeah,
go first.
man, like I don't know if I can hold my tongue on this one, man. Yeah, this is first of all, I think a lot of let me just say this. A lot of this be rage bait like bots, I think. You know, I think it's like somebody's paying this guy to say these things. You know, to
could I just interrupt one point of I mean, why wouldn't you want to go? Yeah, go live in Hollywood. Like, why not? Like, you can drive that car, you can have that house. Like, why not do that? Right? Like, it sounds amazing. Go do that. Like, why doesn't everybody do this? It sounds so easy, right? But that's not exactly how it works. So, I just wanted to comment on that point before you keep going on the explanation or your thoughts.
So yeah, I think that's one of those either AI videos or fake influencers. It got to be because let's just look at it. Let's common sense. How many people are going to have hookups with MTV, VH1, and all that? Have the network to middleman those deals. The average Joe doesn't have time to have another business to middleman those deals. So it might work for you, but is it? Are you able to duplicate this model? And what's the proof of concept that you're able to? You have one student that made 2 grand. Wow, hooray for them! But is on a mass scale, is this a good strategy for you to proclaim that hey, home ownership is a scam, which has been the pillar of the American way for over a century? So just because you found a way to make some money, and that doesn't mean it's scalable, to the masses. So and then second of all, like every market doesn't have multi-million-dollar houses that people are willing to rent and move around like that. We got this community called River Oaks. That's one of probably the most highest per square foot, in the Houston area, but that's all old money. They're not letting you rent out their house for a beach party or for a weekend. That's not happening. Because you might see a synagogue on the corner. You might see a church. It's the neighborhood. It's so they're not going to let outsiders come in and just Airbnb, so to say, or verbal those type of houses. So it might work in that market, but it's not scalable in this Houston market, or even probably other markets as well. It might work
I'm in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota. It not scalable here for the most part either.
Right. So all I have to say is I'll cut it short. I think it's cap. Cap means I think he's exaggerating. I think he's trying to do a hook to go viral, but it's not. If you look at the details, it's really not sustainable. Don't listen to him. I'll go and yield the floor from there.
Dunbar, you want to go first?
So pretty much what he's doing, he's just trying to sell his course or his he's trying to sell something to somebody. That's why it's a lot of misinformation and a lot of generalizations of what he thinks can happen in any market. Yeah, it's totally crazy, and it was pretty much he pretty much wasted everybody's time that watched it because it's a fairy tale.
Right.
So
Pretty
what
long
he's
stretch.
talking, the key, he had it was a longer video, but the key in the video we were watching is he explained, if you I'm not encouraging you just to go on Google and necessarily get your advice from here, but if you Google search fractional real estate investing, what is it? Just to understand the concept of what he's talking about, this is a real thing where basically you can come in, buy a property at part of the property. Like you might have 10, 20, 50, 100 investors on this thing, depending on the size or, price point of the home, or even commercial is where this sometimes spills over into, where you might have, kind of like a timeshare, exactly like a timeshare. That's actually a really good way of explaining it. Think of it like a timeshare. You're buying time or space in this little piece, tiny little piece of the property that now means you get to control a little bit of the decision as one of the members of the thing, of where it's going. You get maybe a, depending on what the home sells for, how the financing goes and how it's used, you may get a return on your investment. It is an investment strategy. I don't think it's the investment strategy, but it's an investment strategy if you have a bunch of money to throw around, which I don't think most people do.
Not to cut your wisdom or cut you off, but see the contradiction in the video. He said fractionalized investing, that's ownership. That's just a different type of ownership. So why are you downplaying ownership? So you're saying owning real estate is a scam, but fractionalized investing is owning the home. What are you talking about?
That's
you just own a smaller piece.
Yes.
So it does, you got to look past the like George Carlin used to say, the sale words, so the state of the art is all BS words, so
right. But that's the funny thing is you're buying a piece of this thing. You now own a little piece, but
right, you still own.
This would be the very one-off one person that happens to have the right circumstances with the right property, with the right thing, that the stars align on this thing, that I think that's where you want to go. If you're the average person watching this as a first-time home buyer or a move-up home buyer, like this is not something you really want to focus on. You want to focus your money on your own homes, your own properties, and even local real estate investors. Like focus on what you can do in your local market and control versus I'm going to go invest in a Hollywood property over here and try to make money that way. I agree with you completely. I think the whole thing is more of a hook for marketing than it is for practical application.
Right. It's not sustainable. Again, a lot of stuff on social media is for, and that's what the podcast is here for, to debunk some of the fugazi that's out there. And fugazi means phony. Don't forget, like, comment, keep the comments coming. We'll read them live. We'll answer any questions. Don't forget to like and subscribe, please. If you like our content, tell a friend to tell a friend. Subscribe, please. All right, let's go to the next one here. I got it queued up. I got a couple more, so we're making good time here. All right. I didn't put the sound on.
Detrimental things you can do in real estate.
Explain to me why you think that's detrimental, son.
Let's take my first property I bought for $70,000. I had another $80,000 in renovations, plus another $10,000 in soft cost. I was all in $160,000. This property reappraised at $300,000. Let's say I sold it for that. If I sold it for $300,000, I would have 6% in realtor fees and another 1% in seller concession fees. That'd be $279,000. Then I have to pay off my $160,000.
That's your first loan, leaving you with $119,000. Well, that seems really damn good for 60 days, Caden.
I mean, you're forgetting the taxes.
Okay, how much are the taxes going to be?
Taxes are going to be another 35%. So times it by 0.65, left with $77,000.
77 grand, bro. You 18. That sounds good.
The problem is all that work I put into it, and I'll never make another penny off it again.
So show me and everybody else what you're going to do to become wealthy instead of doing that, son.
Instead, I'm going to go to the bank and get a loan for 75% of the property's value, $225,000.
Yeah, but then you got to pay off your other loan.
Yeah, let's take out the $160,000 I had on that other loan. Left
Yeah,
me
but now you got
65,000.
65,000. You got to pay taxes on.
No, it's a loan. I don't have to pay any taxes on it.
Yeah, but then you got to pay the loan back.
My tenant is paying me $2,000 a month. Is going to be paying that off.
Well, how much is your loan going to be?
$1,300.
So wait a minute. Your loan's $1,300, and you got $2,000 coming in, and you got $65,000 coming instead of $77,000. Why not take the $77,000 instead?
Well, let me show you. Now, Dad, people who flip properties miss out on the biggest opportunity for creating wealth, which is appreciation. Let me show you how powerful it is.
So that's your $300,000 you started with. Let's say
Yeah.
this property appreciates 5% a year, times
1.05.
to the power of
5 years.
5 years. Whoa, that property's worth $382,000.
Yep.
So now, son, you have to pay off your $225,000, correct?
No, I have to pay off my $210,000 because I have $15,000 in principal reduction.
So you done paid the loan down from $225,000 to $210,000? Man, show us how much equity you got in this property now. All right, so you got $382,000 property now, and you owe minus the $210
Yeah.
equals. Now, add back in the $65,000 in cash out that you got. Now, add in also the $18,000 in cash flow you got. Equals $255,000. That's why you buy and hold. If you guys want the same videos that I'm putting together for my son, comment Burr below, and I'm going to send them to you. Caden, why do people that flip?
Well, I'll give the floor on that. I'll let y'all go ahead.
That's a lot of math right there. Anybody watching is probably like, what?
But it's good, man. I think you broke it down to the molecule. Like it's easy to follow. I mean, for me, I don't know. Like, how about everybody?
We're in the space, so it's a little different, I think, for us. But
Right.
I mean, anybody watching this, I think, is like, oh my goodness, like what just happened? Like you might have to watch that thing, go back and rewatch it like
Right.
3, 4, 5 times, and be like, okay, what's the math? How does this work? Yeah.
Basically, well, I'll let you. I'll comment last on this one.
No, I think it's his. It's the funniest. It's one of my favorite gifs or memes or whatever is from The Incredibles. Math is math. Why did they change it? Right? Like math is math. So if you can benefit more one way versus another, and the math proves it, do it that way. Don't let emotions rule what you're going to do. Let the math talk. In this particular case, it's interesting because there are two schools of thought for investors. There's the Burr method, which is where you're going to buy, rehab, refi, repeat, and then do it again. So you're holding these properties because you're buying them, rehabbing them, putting a renter in there, collecting rent from them, gaining the equity, gaining the tax advantages, building all these things. This is the Burr method. That's why you said comment Burr in here, BRRR. This thing works. There's another school of thought, though, on buy, fix, and flip, where you're going to buy it, rehab it, and flip it immediately instead of getting a renter in there. You're going to flip it. You're going to sell it on the open market, try to capture your equity immediately, go on and buy the next property. So there's two different schools of thought, two different kinds of investors out there doing this kind of thing, I think. And it just depends on who you want to be as an investor. In your local market might dictate this too, by the way. Whatever's going on in your local market might change the strategy and your financial position. However, if you're doing it the right way, you should make money in both. Like neither way is bad. They're both good. They're both incredible. This is where people make money is real estate. But which one will make you more in your local market and your strategy? I would argue his point might make you more in the long run. I agree with the math.
Yeah, I do too. To fix and flip takes it's a lot more risk if you ask me, because you have to have, like we said, contractors. You have to have it in a market to where it is valuable enough to sell quickly. Buy, holding, putting the renter in there is definitely the way that I personally would go, because like you said, you get the equity out the home. You get the benefits of tax, and then you get hopefully some type of cash flow from the renter. So I mean, it's a no brainer. But the thing about it is, it takes more cash up front to repeat a buy and hold situation, right? Because if you know, it'll take you umpteen years to for that equity to and that renter's cash flow to purchase you another house. So you have to have a lot more capital to buy and hold. But it's definitely the way to go. It's definitely more it's definitely a more solid approach, if you ask me.
I get what you're saying. Now, I was going to disagree with you. I get what you're saying. You're talking about upfront.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I was gonna say, like, I think
Yeah.
you make a very valid point, Dunbar, on this
Right.
point of
Right.
it does take a little more upfront, maybe just to get into
Right.
the game of doing it that way,
Right.
the right way, versus you
So-
gotta constantly be recouping your money all the time by fixing and
Right.
flipping.
Right.
You're gonna buy hold. It's like, okay, well, now you held the property, but how do you buy the next property?
Right.
Like, where am I going to get the money for that? And like, you got to wait and take time. And okay, unless you're in a position where you can financially orchestrate this to do it faster, you're going to need to wait sometimes a little longer to get to the next property.
Right.
But go ahead, Dixon. Yeah, your thoughts.
There's a way around that. There's a way that you don't need a lot of capital.
Absolutely.
And again, that's why you contact your local next lending advisor, and I'll show you how it's done. There is like lenders that we have at Nexa that'll lend up to 75% of the LTV. I mean ARV, excuse me, after repair value. And sometimes it depends on the property. Now I wouldn't do this for amateurs. You have to have a property that has a high ceiling. And you have to have the crew to do it. You know, that's the main point. I'll give you an example. I've done one where we paid, I forgot the exact numbers, but let's just make up some numbers. After
Use
repair value,
100,000 as an easy example for math.
right? So let's say I paid 100,000, but the ARV was 300. They'll lend me.
By the way, I don't think anybody probably watching this would know what ARV is. We're talking about after repair value. So like the homes, you bought it for 100,000. Now after it's all repaired and done, you could sell it on the open market. What would that be worth, right?
Right. So the ARV after repair value was 300,000. So
which is a heck of a return, by the way, 100 to 300 in that illustration.
Right. So
may not be everybody that gets that kind of return, but
give me 1 second to explain it to them so everything makes perfect sense to them. So let's say 300,000 is the ARV after repair value. Let's say I pay 100,000 for it. The ARV of that is going to be 75% of that is 225. So if I paid 100, that gives me 125,000 for repairs. So basically, I pretty much got 100% financing. And without, all I have to do is pay my closing costs and different things like that. Some of the insurances and different things like that. After that's done, I could either flip it, or if I want to actually, if I want to do the Burr method, I can refinance this to a permanent mortgage. So let's say, for example, this 225 I borrowed, I refinance this to a permanent mortgage. 225 is going to be in our area, possibly right about $2,000 a month. I put a tenant in there, like you said, pays that. Now I have a $300,000 home that's appreciating. Like you said, over the multiple of 5 years, that'll be like 380 in the next 5 years or so, based on the factor of 5%. It's kind of a fictitious factor, but now I still get the tax benefits and so on and so forth. But I put damn near nothing in it. But you got to find the right type of property though, to where it has that high upside. And there's properties like that, but you don't, if you don't know, you don't know what to look for. A lot of people, when they shop for properties, they shop for stuff they want to live in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then another challenge is they don't know how to put tenants in the actual property itself. So a lot of people think real estate is easy, but it's not. It's all about your network. If you don't have the network to do it, or you don't have the mentorship to do it, you can drown in it, easily. Let's go.
I don't have the stat in front of me. I wish I had it queued up and ready to go, but a lot of people think like, oh, well, what about the 2008 recession? Like, what about that? And what, when home prices went down, like, what if you do this? You buy the property, you get into this investing game, and then home prices tank. If you held properties in 2008, you actually still would have made money. By like years ago, you would have made money. You'd be 100, 200, 300 grand higher today if you held that property back in the 2008 crisis time period. But that's the only period in all of history where home prices actually dipped temporarily. You only lost money if you sold there. For the last almost 90 years that they've been tracking real estate, it has gone up every single year. If I told you I had an investment today that would give you a rate of return, and it would fluctuate over time, but it would pretty much guaranteed go up as long as you held the thing. You never sold it. I guarantee it's going to go up pretty much. For the last 90 years it has, for the track record, would you invest in that? I mean, like, I don't think anybody would say no. Like, duh.
I think a lot of people still would say no because
I wish I had the chart ready to go to pull up in front of us here, but that's my point with this thing is, when it comes to this strategy of buy and hold, I agree. Ride that wave, ride that equity train up there if you can as an investor. Take advantage of the equity opportunity. If you do it right and have the right financing structure, the right strategy, the right real estate plan, like everything's tied to this thing. If you do it right, you can probably come out further ahead than the fix and flip method, honestly. And by the way, Dixon, just so you know, if for those watching here, we're both with Nexa Lending, the largest brokerage in the country, we actually do have some investors, I don't know if you know this, Dixon, that will do 100% loan to cost.
Okay.
So, I mean, we could legit fund the entire thing if you have some money to put down up front on the initial investment. So say the property is, in this example, $100,000, you put 20% down, so 20 grand into this thing. We do 100% loan to cost. Now, whatever, say you have a massive rehab, like in the event of the rehab's going to be 100 grand more. Well, now we can do 100% loan to cost and go even above and beyond that, maybe, and offset the down payment. So in the end, the way it shakes out is you basically exactly what you said earlier, Dixon. You might come into this whole thing in the end with next to nothing, if not nothing out of pocket. When you do this, and then you're holding the property, keep that property in your portfolio of investment properties, keep going. Like, I mean, this thing can work really well if it's done right. But I don't think a lot of people understand that this is even a strategy that exists, or lenders that do this kind of thing.
Well, yeah, they don't understand that. They think, I mean, it's a lot. Most people would rather go to the casino, than actually it's instant gratification. Yeah, it's instant gratification as opposed to this. This takes a lot of tenacity. It takes time. It takes a lot of strategizing. It takes a lot of pounding the pavement. A lot of the properties that I'm talking about will not be online. You have to get out into neighborhoods and see those properties and catch those properties. It's timing. So if you're trying to do this from your couch, like the guy said, I could mine Bitcoin at 4 a.m. If you're that type of guy that want to sit in the house, and this is probably not for you. Like, you're not going to find this type of property. You're going to get stuff that's, by the time it's posted, everything's processed already. By the time it's on our local MLS, which is HAR, by the time it hits HAR, it's already processed. All the money's been squeezed out. Even if it is.
Can I also argue and make the point of, this is why you need a really good licensed real estate professional to get you on the live MLS service, I don't even want to mention the names. All the other syndicated websites that you go on Google and you start typing out of like homes near me, and then anything that shows up, that's not live data. You want to make sure you have a licensed professional, ideally one that knows real estate investing specifically and is tied to other investors and groups that knows that market, but then start joining real estate group communities on Facebook or other social media platforms like this. There's a lot of real estate investor groups where they're looking at this kind of strategy. They're talking about this stuff. They're sharing property information. Who wants to jump in with me on this one or whatever? Like, there's a lot of different places you can meet good people that can help you get into this space if this is the space you want to be in.
Gotcha. We got a couple more, so what the time it is, we making decent time, so let's go ahead and knock these out real quick. And don't forget to like and subscribe on the video. So, all right, let's go ahead. The last couple. All right, I got the
go broke because of a house. This is something that I'm realizing, right? Yeah. Because you buy the house, you have the mortgage for the house, then you got to furnish the house, and you got to do all kinds of landscaping and all that. Then it's the constant upkeep. Is the constant upkeep of the house, right? You got your electric bill, you got your gas bill, you got your cable bill, you got all these different things, right? Then you got to cut the grass. Then things break over the course of time. Then you got to repair the sink. Then you got to repair the dryer. Then you have to pay property taxes. So the bigger the house, the bigger you can have thousands of dollars a month in utility bills if your house is big enough, right? You can have $50,000 a year in taxes if your house is big enough, right? You can have $20,000 a year in upkeep if your house is big enough, let alone the mortgage that you're paying, right? So now you're one of these things where two things happen. You lose opportunity costs because all of this money is just coming. It's like it's like $100,000 every single year that you're coming out, right? What's the opportunity cost that money was invested? Zero, because this is money that you're just spending as opposed to $100,000 invested, right? We talk about stocks. So now let's say over the course of 10 years, that's $1 million that you invested. That could easily be $2 million. That could easily be $2.53 million, right? As opposed to now that's zero. And anything can happen. Now your income starts to fluctuate. You go down. You still got to pay. You might try to sell your house. The house isn't selling on time. So now you're running through your savings. So now before you know, you burn through savings. You burn through savings, and that's something I'm just coming to the realization. Like, oh, this is how they get. A lot of people go broke because of a house.
I'll go first on that.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So I hear that all the time. The only thing that's actually true about having a house, as opposed to owning a house as opposed to renting, is the one-offs, like water heater goes out or something like that. But what he mentioned, electricity bill, this stuff you have to have and pay anyway, whether you buying or renting.
I was thinking the same thing.
Anything can happen. Anything can happen if you're renting. You know what I mean? It takes what? If you miss your mortgage once or twice, I mean, you can roll that in the back of your loan. They're not gonna you get evicted before you get foreclosed on. Like, you get way more opportunities, you get way more chances. That's just totally. I don't know. He has to be trying to sell something, because only thing that I can agree on is the one-offs, like water heater or pipes burst or something along those lines. But everything else he mentioned, you have to pay those regardless of renting or buying.
David, you want to go down? I'm looking for this last clip here. One of the last clips.
Yeah. I mean, there's validity in his point of your water heater could go out. We talked about this earlier. Your furnace could go out. There are expenses when you're buying a home. It's true. Like, you have those things. I have had that happen to me myself.
Yeah, sure.
But if you're not owning a home, you don't get all of those other advantages: the equity increase, the principal buy down of the loan if you need a loan, and the tax implications that come with this too, the tax savings. So put these all together, you're still going to come out further ahead no matter how you slice it. I mean, now granted, unless you bought the worst property you could ever buy, where everything goes out at once, like worst thing in the world, which could happen to somebody, unfortunately. But as long as you vetted this out, this is where a good home inspection comes into play, by the way. When you're buying a property, have a home inspector go through, look at it, and tell you, that's their job, by the way. That's the difference between an appraiser and a home inspector, is An appraiser's just walking through, just making sure, like, is it good? Yep, great. Take some photos, leave. 90% of the work is behind the scenes to figure out the value. A property inspector is going through everything in the house. They're checking every window crank. They're testing every outlet. They're crawling the attic. They're going everywhere to figure out everything wrong with the thing. So have a good home inspector walk you through the stuff so you're prepared. But pending there's not going to be a lot of issues, you're probably not going to run into these issues where he's talking about of like everything goes wrong and you have to fix and repair things. Barring that not happening, I don't see how the math is mathing for him, because you pretty much almost guaranteed will come ahead by owning versus renting every time. There's extremely rare exceptions to this. So I disagree with the thought process that he has there. I think definitely become a homeowner one way or another. Get into a house as fast as you can, because it will launch you to that next property and the next one and the next one, if that's your goal. Or at the very minimum, hey, it's yours. You can do whatever you want with it. You can change the colors, the paint, the flooring, the whatever. It's your house. Do what you want. You can build this thing like you want. Like, I don't have to go change it back when I move like you do with most rentals. So I don't understand the logic of this one, honestly. I disagree.
Well, let me break it down. I think what they were comparing it to was they were talking about the context that they were probably framing is for people that are looking to that's business owners, entrepreneurs, and they get into these houses that they really is above what their means are. As soon as you start making money, you have 1 year of business success, you get the nicest house on the block, and then you become what's called house poor.
Right.
So I think you overextended yourself. So a lot of people, get the car, the BMW, they get the mansion, the $1 million house, and you just only had 1 or 2 good years in business. Now, if anything goes wrong, you're cash strapped because you got all of this money into the house. I got a jumbo loan. I got a $1.5 million house. I put $300,000 into this house, and then I got to get furniture. Then I got to get all this stuff, and a lot of my liquid is gone. Now, when the opportunities come, I don't have any liquid to invest in other things. I think that's what they were talking about, and that's how don't forget that in Houston, I know Houston, Texas, period, but Houston especially, our area is one of the highest tax districts, in probably the land, because we don't have state tax, so we have outrageous property tax. So $1 million house could be, I would say $20,000 to $30,000 a year in taxes. Dunbar, am I exaggerating?
No, you're not. I actually had a client that
Right.
we were looking in Houston area for new deals, and we ended up having to go all the way to San Antonio
Right.
which is another town that's not as big as Houston because of the property. He just couldn't get over. He couldn't get over that point.
Right. So
which is why, again, area matters too. Like in Minnesota, by the way, the average county tax is either 1.1 or 1.2% of the price for the estimated valuation. So like in my market, if you bought $100,000 house, that's $1,100 a year of taxes.
Right.
$200,000 is $2,200 a year, like, and so on, right? Like it's not as expensive as it might be in other parts of the country. So that could play a factor in this too.
Right. So I see what they're saying. Well, I think they're saying, I don't think they're saying that don't own a home. I'm saying I would do the Kendrick Lamar approach, and Kendrick Lamar is one of the most popular rappers right now. So he still lives in like a modest $300,000 to $400,000 home. Even though he's a multi-millionaire. Can he afford it? Yes. Do you need to? Like, I come to the realization like a couple of years ago, like, who am I trying to impress? I barely have any company over the house at all anyway. Who am I? All you do is see this online. You see me walking through it. That's it. So I could rent something for that. Like, why do I need to, why do I need to actually hold this up this image? So I think a lot of people fall into that, and I had the same thing. That's why I downsized. That way I have more liquid for investment properties and opportunities that come along. Because we're trying to impress people. And that leaves us cash strapped. It just is what it is. Like we bit off more than we could chew. Okay, now what? Now I got this house. Now what? Now I got to keep up with it. So when you play this role, you're gonna have to continue playing it.
Yep.
And then you can drive you to the poorhouse. So that's
for what it's worth. I feel like I have to defend myself a little bit here. That like
Right.
everyone's seeing my office behind me, like this is a real office. I
right.
just want to point out this is like the nicest room in the house that my wife and I happen to remodel here. But the
Right.
house is not worth that much. Like we had the opportunity to buy something much bigger, and we
Right.
decided like why would we need to do that? Like
Exactly.
my home is worth roughly 400,000 here in Minnesota.
Right.
It's the same, similar to yours. It sounds like, Dixon. Like it's not that different than anyone else. We've
Mhm.
made it our own, like, and we've made it nicer. But
Right.
like, why do we need anything bigger? Why do we need anything different?
I
Like just
think that-
because you can go higher doesn't mean you need to. Stay
Right.
within your means.
Right. And I think that's the point that they were making. You can go broke trying to impress the Joneses or trying to impress your family members, and they still will try to find something negative anyway. So why are you trying to impress them, and they're gonna try to find a flaw anyway? So why do it? Stay within your means, as long as
I
you're
want to
happy.
come back to being prepared. Like if you're not prepared for the transition, for the
Mhm.
move, you don't have an inspection done, you skip it, you don't know what you're going into, you don't have the budget for it, hold off a sec. Just go in both eyes open, prepared to this thing. If you're going in blind and like, oh yeah, we're just gonna buy a house and we got the money, it's fine. Like, hold on a sec. Like this is what got people in trouble in 08 or prior to 08 in that recession, that period where we had unregulated loans where everybody could just get in, get a loan, get a home, and they started buying up properties because it was so easy. And trying to keep up with the Joneses, everybody was doing the same thing and not really thinking this through and planning it out right. So just I think having a good plan of action ahead of time and going in both eyes open is a huge piece to this too.
Gotcha. Let's get to these last two here. Then we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. And I think, all right, let's go to this one first.
This is an awful way for you to actually make money. Option one, you can go buy a single family home for $400,000, the average price in the US, and then you rent it out to somebody. Well, the average rent nets you profit wise about $167 a month. So you're taking a $400,000 risk for a couple $100 a month. Then you take the average small business, you could buy same way you could for buying a piece of real estate. So $400,000 business, you put some money down and get the rest from the SBA or seller financing. And the average small business makes 10 to 15% per year. You're cash flowing tens of thousands of dollars from a business instead of real estate. Real estate is an awful way for you to actually make money.
I just put this in here for the play devil's advocate. So we're not we're taking all type of sides of the coin here. I understand what she's saying, but I think you have to diversify. Yes, if this is your I think as opposed everything is as opposed to what? So if I have to rent, as opposed to renting, yes, buying a house is great. Now, if you're talking about it as far as investment strategy, yes, this is the safest. However, it's not. A lot of them are not sexy deals, especially if you don't know what you're doing.
Yep.
Can a business cash flow more? Yes, same thing, but it's riskier. You can go flop as well. Nobody's going to pick up a house and steal it. Yes, that's anything. The most secure bonds and the most secure investment have the least yield, but they're secure. That's going to be steady. There's going to be a steady increase in that actual property valuation. There's going to be a steady increase in rent. It's slow but steady. It's not sexy. Yes, you can. You can make quicker yield for business, but I would say both. If I don't have the cash flow and I'm trying to make some quick money, and it's a business I know that I feel confident in myself that I could steer and I could take to the moon, yes, I will go ahead. If it's something that's out of my wheelhouse and it's a risky business that I don't know about, and if I don't know somebody that knows how to run it that I trust, I will go to real estate. So it's as opposed to what? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
But
I was gonna say one of my favorite shows, and my wife makes fun of me for it, is Shark Tank. I love Shark Tank. It's so fun just watching these people go in, and you're like, oh yeah, they're gonna get a deal for sure. And then the next person comes in, and you're like, oh, they're never gonna get a deal. And it goes exactly opposite of what you think of how they, end up offering them a deal and not the other each side. But I think they show a very good example of how not every business succeeds. It's actually, I just quickly looked it up. It's about 1 in 4 still nationwide. 1 in 4 fail. That's a big risk. 1 in almost 0 properties will fail, but 1 in 4 businesses will fail. Right. So unless it's the right business with the right people running it, the right investor, the right strategy, everything tied to this thing, why would you take that big of a risk just to make a little bit more? I mean, we're not even talking that much more. A little bit more in most cases, in most businesses, for that kind of level of risk. Why not focus on real estate? And then as you make money and you start meeting other players in that space and you start learning about other top professionals, top investors, top businesses, now when the right one comes along, and you'll know when it does, now go invest in that business. Move your money sideways and go invest in the business. But until then, I would argue stay in real estate. Why are you trying to go over here in a world that you don't really know and you don't even know the business model necessarily? Now, unless you are a person that fully understands that exact model. Right. And it's the perfect fit. Like if the perfect fit comes along, go for it. But other than that, focus on real estate.
I have a little bit before you. I have a little bit of strategy. If it's in your wheelhouse, I say go for it. I always said learn and earn. Learn and earn. Go get a job in something that you're interested in becoming an owner in. Learn from the top person in your space. Apprentice, so to speak, under them, but earning a paycheck. Do that for a couple of years and then open your own. Either direct competition with them or even indirect. Do it in another market. That's always been my strategy. Find out how to, that I wanted to do retail. So I went to the best retail in my area, which is Mattress Mac. That's my mentor. So I wanted to learn how to do big volume retail. And I learned from the best. So now when I'm looking for the right opportunity, I thought I had it last year. We wound up selling the store from underneath me. But long story short, when I do get back in retail, I'm well equipped to run and blow up the top line because I've learned from the best in the business. So I'm saying that to say this, that my strategy is blow it up, then get your real estate portfolio to supplement that income. Now, if you don't have that, it's all an individual. You don't have that, yeah. Park your money in real estate. If I just have a good corporate job and I don't have time to do any other businesses, this is the safest way. Park your money in the real estate. It's, get your property manager. Yeah, you're going to make less returns, however, but safe return. You still own that portfolio. So it just depends on your situation. If you're corporate, you got your dream job, you don't want to get into business, real estate. If you're a blue collar or entrepreneur that's looking for a come up, find a business and blow it up. Dunbar,
Yeah. So first off, she said that you go and buy a $400,000 house because that's what the average price is in America. No investor does that. Like, what I mean? Investors go for, of course, well below the average.
Market value,
well below the average. And that's another thing that, anybody that knows anything about real estate or business in general would know. So you don't go and buy a house that's you maximize from the beginning. And how you do that is you buy a house that is below the market. So when you do rent, you have greater yields, right? Second off, I think that not everybody, like you said, David, is really equipped to do business. It takes a lot. it's actually more up. I think it's more upfront cost than it is to actually own a home, because if you're having a quality, depending on what's your business, and you know what you're doing with it, you have to buy quality stuff in to get quality out, and that's not cheap. Like you can buy a below market house, you can buy some BS and put somebody in it for market price, and then it's gonna fly. You can't do that with business. You gotta put quality in. You gotta buy quality, and to have a quality product. So I mean that's what I would say. That's you buy low and you rent for a high, and it's way easier, and it's less money. Honestly, it's less money.
Yeah, the barrier of entry is a lot lower in real estate.
Right.
Now, I want to also mention too, not everybody is that way. It depends on the market. Like I just actually got off the phone this last week with a woman who is an investor in real estate. All she does is $1 million plus level properties. Like, so there's different levels of investors out there in real estate. So sometimes the barrier of entry is larger depending on what market you're in. But in general, I think to your point, Dunbar, yes, absolutely. The barrier of entry is lower getting into real estate than it is into business investing.
Right.
Well,
And your risk is so much higher that way. So like, why would you go that route first?
Right.
Go real estate first, that second, only if it makes sense.
I think she was trying to skew a narrative. I think that's for lazy investors that'll buy from the MLS and have something already turnkey and then try to turn that into a rental property. Yes, that'll be your cash flow, $167 because everything is done already.
Yeah.
The real money is to buy the ugly houses and then turn them into functional houses. That's what most investors do. Right. Most investors don't say, I like that house. Let me get it for investment property. All right, you can do that, but the money's already made. Somebody's already processed it for you. It's already like an edible, a lunchable. It's already packaged and prepackaged. It's already the salami's already cut up for you. The crackers already spread out, and the cheese spread is already packaged, bundled, and they're going to charge you a premium price because they package it up for you.
Yep.
As opposed to
good investors are looking at this from a mathematical standpoint, not do I like the pretty house? I like the curtains. I like the flooring. That's not what they're looking at. They're looking at the math.
Right. So she looked at it from that. Hey, if I buy a house from off the rack, so to speak, that'll be your yield. Your yield will be much greater if you buy an ugly house and then fix it up and then do the BRRRR method, what we were talking about earlier. Then you'll get greater yields. And then, I do agree with you. Everybody's not equipped for business, but I would say if you learn the business, there's solopreneurs as well. Like one of the guys, I think HVAC, he visits the show regularly. I think he's in the HVAC and he's under a guy right now, but he has ambitions to get his own business. So that could be a solopreneur thing. Electrician. You don't have to. You just have to be good at your craft, and then that could be your business yourself. So it's all kind of ways. And you always could buy somebody else's book of business. You could buy their past customers as well. Let's end on a positive note. I got a clip from my guy here, Tony Robbins. So let's run it, and let's end on that note. Let's go ahead and run this last one. Here we go.
Made your first million.
Million or billion?
Billion.
Billion, that was only recent. A million when I was 24.
So you're a billionaire?
Yes, fortunately I am.
And what's your name?
Tony Robbins. How would you not know that if you're at my home?
How did you get rich, man? What do you do?
I have at this point 114 companies. We do $12 billion in business per year.
Can I interview you for a minute?
Of course.
Your best networking tip to the younger generation.
I'll tell you what Jim Rohn taught me because it's the best advice I ever got. I was 17 years old. I went one day and said, help me understand why we're broke. It doesn't seem fair that some school teacher makes, in those days, $35,000 a year, and this billionaire hedge fund guy makes $1 billion in a year. And he said, Tony, listen to me. He said, so I'll never forget. He goes, we're all equal as souls. You're right, but we're not equal in the marketplace. And he said, your job, it's very simple. You have to become more valuable. You have to do more for others than anybody else in the marketplace.
So it's true when they say that life gives to givers and it takes from takers.
I think life is always giving to us. It's our job to figure out what it is. I tell people you're rewarded in public for what you constantly practice intensely in private.
You also mastered the art of getting attention. What did you learn about building a personal brand to generate millions and billions of dollars?
I would offer you a different thought on that. It's not just attention. The attention economy is already over. It's like the information economy. There's so much information. People are drowning in information. They're starving for wisdom. And everybody's trying to get your attention. They've got advertisements on people's asses. It's on bananas. It's everywhere. Come on. What you need is to get results. There's no better marketing tool than results. Then you'll not just have attention. You'll have raving fans. And those raving fans will build your business.
Credibility kills all bad attitudes.
That's the perfect way of saying it.
How old are you now?
65, about to be 66.
Tony, if me and you died tomorrow and you had one more message to leave with the younger generation, what would that be?
There's 3 skills you got to have. The most important skills in life today. Skill number 1 is pattern recognition. That's what you're running around doing. What's the common pattern? What's the common belief system? Pattern recognition takes you out of fear. But the second skill is pattern utilization. If you look at somebody who's good in finance, they learn how to not see the pattern, but use the pattern. But the third skill, the one you want to get to, is pattern creation. That's when you become the greatest of all time in your particular category. That's how you get there. But I always tell people, we're not made to manage circumstances. We're made to be creators. We were created, designed to be creators. Become the creator of your own life.
You got amazing advice, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time,
Nice
man.
meeting you.
Hey, you're a massive inspiration.
Thank you so much. Blessings to you.
Man, that was so powerful. Before we get to it, let's read the comment. Hold on. Yeah, this was a spam comment on Twitch. So but
I mean, hey, maybe there is a better way to do this, but StreamYard is seeming to be one of the best places we can do this on, where we can post to multiple places at once. So
right. Yeah, probably a bot or something to that effect. But
if it's real, thank you for the advice.
Right. We appreciate any comments. But man, Tony Robbins, he's one of my favorites. I'll go ahead and comment first, and then we'll close it out after y'all comment, and then we'll rock from there. We'll see y'all next week. But a couple things I took away from there. He said we're all equals as soul, but we're not equal in a marketplace. So the best thing to build your business is create value, become valuable. And that's what I've been doing for the last 10 years. I study the business. I have a wealth of knowledge. Again, I'm not the best at it, but I'm probably one of the best in my market, if not, the best here. But you got to kind of build yourself up to where you're valuable to the customer. And that's your leverage. I'm the expert in the field. And how do you do that? You do that by your work. You got to outwork the other person. Everybody's trying to get to that top. Some people are just here, happy to be here, but most people are trying to get to the top. And then so that's why I'm up late at night taking phone calls. That's why I'm up, posting to social media, because again, trying to be the best in the field. Another thing I took away from that is that he said something that was great as well. It said, we all created, we're designed to create. He talk about pattern creation. So recognize the pattern, then creating a pattern. What I took from that is that you look at what's trending now, and then you create your own version of it, and then you dominate the market with it. Everything is borrowed from ideas. I give you an example, like not quite water, not quite Gatorade. You got vitamin water. They created their own. They created their own space, and then vitamin water was the first. Then you had a whole line, life water, mineral. All these other waters came because they created that space. They seen the trend. People don't want water because they wanted flavor, but they wanted some vitamins in it. So they recognized the pattern, and then they created their own pattern, and then a lot of people follow from there. And that's the thing. You got to find out what's going on. Take your version of it. It's called alchemy. Merge it together and form your own, and that's when you get the goal. And I'll leave it at that. Anybody? I think you muted yourself.
Yeah, I go. Yeah, I think to piggyback your second takeaway from that is, we are all creators, and it's one of those things where you can't be great if you don't want to be great. So that's the first step. The first step is is wanting it, right? Because wanting it is gonna make you stay up at night. It's gonna make you not go out on on weekends. It's gonna make you save your money for something that's more valuable than fun. So I that's my greatest takeaway from it. And also, yeah, like having a mentor. That is a great thing to seek out as well, because you don't want to reinvent the wheel, so to say. You want to learn from the person who created the wheel, and you want to make make your own wheel. So it's one of those things where you have to put some time and some effort into to get into a space where you can get somebody who wants what you want, and then you have to believe that you can do it.
Gotcha. David, you want to get your takeaway for
what hit me the most that stood out to me was everyone has information overload, but they're starving for wisdom. That's what hit me. Starving for wisdom. There's so many things out there. You can Google search anything you want. You can talk to 1,000 people about these topics, about money, finance, real estate, mortgages, etc. You'll get 1,000 different views. And a lot of them are just regurgitating the same stupid thing over and over. And it's not really that helpful. And most so-called professionals, not trying to call anybody out, but most so-called professionals out there that do this work are regurgitating the same thing you just Google searched. And it's not actually helpful. This is just information overload. And the way social media has gone now, of just how there's so many people that claim to be, experts on these topics that aren't licensed professionals. They're not in the space. They're not providing this information in a way that helps a family or an investor or anyone else that we've talked about that this might relate to. Having wisdom, though, wisdom is the application of knowledge. Like there's a great illustration that I heard years ago that I thought might be fitting for this video, because I did watch this one beforehand, is knowledge is knowing there's a train coming on those train tracks. Understanding is knowing I'm standing on the train tracks, and if I don't get off the train tracks, I will get hit by the train and die. Wisdom is getting off the tracks. So finding someone that can align with you and help you with that wisdom side of, here's all this stuff, here's how you navigate it, here's what you can do to now get yourself into the next position, taking the knowledge and applying it. Without applying the knowledge, just taking it in, it doesn't help you. But applying it can help you. So I love that he said that, is people are starving for wisdom. There's too much education, quote unquote, out there, too much knowledge and not enough wisdom. So that was my main takeaway. I love that point. And I'm going to remember that for future reference too. So I think it was a great video.
Yeah, definitely.
One of my favorite things, like it said, knowledge is knowing a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is not putting it in a fruit salad.
There you go.
Most
of the time, 99% of the time.
Right. So with that being said, man, we appreciate everybody joined us, especially if y'all stuck with us the whole time. Don't forget to like the video, tell a friend to tell a friend, share the video as well, and we'll see y'all next week.
Thank you, everybody.
See ya.
Pleasure seeing you guys.